Hey folks, this is Rick Rayner with Rallies for Christ and Rally Films. Now you got to take time to watch Time with Theresa. Her TV show is amazing. She always has amazing guests. She always has a word for you. So don't forget, Time with Theresa. Look her up. Go to her website. God bless you, folks.
Brighten your day by watching the Time with Theresa television show. Whether in the studio or on location, Theresa Westbrook and guests will warm your heart and encourage your soul. And now, your host, Theresa Westbrook.
Hello and welcome to another encouraging broadcast on Time with Theresa. Have you ever faced danger, darkness, or an impossible situation and wondered how in the world would you ever survive it? If your answer is yes, then this show is for you. Today's guest, Sherrie Wilson, is an author, inspirational speaker, and a professional firefighter. Sherrie's going to share her new book, Faith on Fire, which chronicles her life-changing experiences as the very first female firefighter in Dallas, Texas. Please help me welcome Sherrie to the program. Hi, Sherrie.
Hey, so glad to be here.
Oh, it's a delight to have you. And now, Sherrie, I know I just touched on your credentials because you're so multidimensional. So share a little more in depth about your professional background.
My professional background is that I'm a lifetime learner. I run a business, Emergency Management Resources, and we are health and safety consultants. So I teach everything from advanced cardiac life support to OSHA authorized training. So anything in the health and safety arena, that's what I do for a living. I've also done quite a bit of study with advanced neurodynamics and the way we think, and I like to take science and mix and go and find the scripture that matches the science. And what's amazing to me is that the science is now confirming scripture, and that's exciting because life and death is in what we say and what we speak and what we believe. And it's profoundly moving to have been raised in a Christian faith where I have hope.
Yes, yes.
Even when facing those impossible situations.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love it. And I just love it when science confirms the Word of God.
Yes.
And that is the purpose for science.
Yes, it is.
To reach that group of people that will only accept a scientific explanation.
Yes. Well, it's funny because that's the way God yanked me back in.
Oh, really?
It really is. It really is. Because, we all go through that stage where we get mad at God and we think that, our parents are over the top with things, and then to have Him pull me back in using what triggers my mind and what I love, and then sitting there and going, oh my gosh, this is scripture.
Oh, that's powerful, Sherrie. Well, now, okay, let's move on to early on in life. Did you believe you were going to be a firefighter early on in life? Or?
All I know is that I witnessed that accident and nobody did anything. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we've got to have people that will move.
So you witnessed an accident early when you was a child? Or?
Yeah, and I remember crying because my daddy wouldn't stop. I said, Daddy, we have to stop. And he wouldn't stop, and my mother turned to me and she grabbed my hand and she said, let's pray. And so we prayed, and I said, Jesus, heal that man. And that was it. Mine was short, sweet, and to the point. And I felt better. And immediately I heard this noise, and I perked up, and then it got louder, and it was a siren. And I was dancing a jig in the back of that car at 8 years old because God answered my prayer immediately and sent help for that man.
Yes.
And something out of that grew that I wanted to be a rescuer.
Wow. That's awesome.
And I just felt like it was my calling.
And that stayed with you from 8 years old onward?
Onward, I just wanted to be a rescuer. Took first aid in high school, took it again in college. Went and got a job, prayed for my patients because in the beginning I didn't really know what I was doing. I would just go, God, please help me with this patient, you know, and then I would remember something. And then it just grew into now I'm an educator in the area. I teach these courses and teach people how to save lives. And I just think we're the science side of him.
Yes, well, and there is a call on people's lives who are first responders and call on people's lives who are in the military. I mean, we can't take any of these professions lightly. When you're helping and serving others, that is actually a call for you to be able to do it and to do it well. So what, I guess you prepared your parents then for the news, hey, I'm going to be a professional firefighter.
Well, I wanted to be a paramedic.
Oh, okay.
And then I was told you had to be a firefighter first, and I went, okay, I'll do that too. And they were like, really? My mother never stepped foot in a fire station, ever.
Really?
And I think my dad thought she'll grow out of it. 35 years later, I did grow out of it. After retiring.
After retiring, after a wonderful career in it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so, and then also you went on and got married. So did your husband have some concerns? You became a firefighter after you were married, is that correct,
No.
or before?
I was a firefighter for almost 5 years before I met him.
Oh, okay.
So he knew what he was getting into.
Okay, so he knew that, you know, to pray over his wife every time she left out.
Yes.
And to support her. Well, that's awesome. Now, okay, so the first female firefighter in Dallas, Texas, there had to been a lot of challenges and obstacles to overcome. So share more about that.
Well, you know, in the 70s, we didn't belong. But there was a man who was my hero. And you know, I think about the Me Too movement and all that's going on, and I think, wow, a lot of women haven't had a hero. And he was somebody that stepped up and trained me, pulled me aside and taught me things. You know, he always had good intentions. He was a very honorable man. He never talked rude to me or anything. He was like, you've got to do this. I want to see you succeed. His name is Roy Farrell, and he has just been a friend to me all these years. And it's funny, he was my hero when I was a young woman firefighter. And it's also funny that after I left the station and I was never with him, he had a cardiac arrest at the station, and the firefighters became his hero. And this guy is growing old. I mean, he's got this wonderful life, and God just blessed him. Even though he went through this horrible cardiac event, he was at the right place at the right time with the right people.
That's right.
So I think, you know, he was a hero to me, and we ended up being heroes to him, and that's awesome.
Well, that's beautiful. And you know, you really touched on something important. Men need to be taught how to treat women, and women need to be taught how to act like women.
Yeah.
It's my take on it.
I agree.
Take on it. And,
I agree.
And then I think, and we do need those outstanding individuals leading the way that sets the bar high, you know, and encourages people, and it's wholesome. And I think it just makes such a much more healthy environment. And of course, as a survivor, my heart goes out to all the women who have not been treated correctly and had sexual advances upon them. So I'm not taking away from their pain or that, but we've got to start. We've got to start young. Teach your children. Teach your children. Teach the girls what to watch out for. Teach the boys how to treat girls. So. But now moving back to the interview. I'm sure, Sherrie, you put your life on the line many times in the line of duty. So could you share with our viewers one time that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt was a miracle rescue?
A miracle rescue, amazingly, wasn't me rescuing somebody else. It was somebody rescuing me. And Roy and I had a run. and we had been by this project earlier in the day studying district. And we went back that night at midnight, and the people that were in the room were the same people that were sitting on a park bench during the middle of the workday doing absolutely nothing. And they were gangsters. They had on their little gang colors and everything. And so they waited till midnight and called us back out. And they were going to have a party with me. It's what we really believe. And they weren't answering our questions, and things just, weren't going right. I look back at my partner, because I'm on my knees in front of this man trying to get a blood pressure, and he glazed over with hate in his eyes and was reaching for me. And about that time, I heard a noise, and the noise was the lady that lived in this house, and it was her son, and he had been released from prison, and he was a gangster and a drug addict, and she had gone to sleep upstairs, and something woke her, and she came down those stairs, and she started slinging and slapping, and she told me with the command presence of a chief, "Get your stuff and get out." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am," and I got out of there. And as I was leaving, I looked back, and I mean, she was swinging at these guys, saying, "That is my friend. You do not treat her like that." Roy had left the scene, and I went out and I found him. I went, "You left me." And he goes, "Sherrie, I had to call the police. I knew what was about to happen. I had to get out where I could call." So I slipped out. He called. The police came. Anyhow, it was a frightening event for me that night. But I remember going and sitting in the ambulance after talking to the police, and I sat there and I just had tears dropping from my eyes, and I thought, wow, God, you just so saved me. Mm-hmm. I know that my protection came from above. Mm-hmm. Even though Roy was there for me, Big Mama was her name, she was there for me. I just know that God was there, and it's amazing that as I look back on every event, that he was there for me. And there were times that were really hard, and some of them were lessons designed for me, mm-hmm. that would change me, that would transform me, that would renew my mind in a different way, Mm-hmm. So the whole career was this amazing, 90 to nothing career where you're just working yourself to death, and maybe that's what I needed, to just be exhausted so I didn't get in trouble. Because I was exhausted for 35 years. Mm-hmm. And when I retired, I started sleeping like a normal person.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
And it's the one thing that I treasure and protect now, that I just didn't have it for so many years, mm-hmm. doing that job.
It's very demanding.
It's extremely demanding.
It's very demanding, and the pay is very modest.
Yes.
So what kept you motivated for those 35 years?
Well, one is because it's what I was wanting to do, but I saw the pay, and I remember when I had a young child, and I was actually pregnant, and we were calculating what diapers and milk were going to cost. I decided that I would start teaching on the side. And all I wanted to do was make $150 to pay the diapers and milk. And now I have 8 families and 815 instructors across the U.S. And I just started out teaching CPR, and now we're teaching everything you can imagine. And basically, we broker classes across the U.S., so I stay busy doing that. Yes. So not only did he give me a career, he gave me a way to pay the insurance and to go on a few trips and to have a little nicer car, mm-hmm. but he gave me something to do in retirement, because I'm really not ready to just give up yet.
No, I don't think you'll ever be.
Yeah.
I think you are a go-getter.
If I'm not on a plane going somewhere, I'm bored. Right?
In fact, you just returned from New York, this cyclone bomb.
Yes,
you were
yes.
there.
And it was like, she's going, "I'm so sorry." And I went, "This is an experience." We were shopping during a snowstorm, a snow hurricane,
I guess being a firefighter and having that background has made you very courageous, really.
That's funny because my next book is Courageous Leadership.
Awesome, awesome. Well, so I'm so excited to hear that you've got another project in the works, and you want to share just a little bit more with our viewers about that?
Sure. Courageous Leadership is unique. When I finished working with the fire department, you know, my motive operandi was kicking in doors and fighting fire, and that just didn't really work for the workplace. And so I found the best leadership course that I could find. I flew to Washington, D.C. for months and months on end. I completed that. I completed the instructor piece of it, and now I teach that course. And it was a faith-based leadership course. And it's amazing because I've gone through some tough things, and I've just gotten really curious. And when you look at Jesus, Jesus was curious. He asked lots of questions, and he was curious, and he loved people even when they weren't lovable.
Yes.
And that changed me. And it changed me in such a way that my business is now thriving whether I show up or not. Because I started employing those techniques with all my employees and everybody I worked with, and it just changed the whole picture for me. And so I wrote a curriculum using a lot of that information, and then I wrote the book Courageous Leadership. It's in final edits right now. We're hoping spring, summer, but it could be summer, fall, but we'll just see. But we're working on it.
Okay, well, we'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Well, could you tell our viewers what could they do to encourage our first responders?
Well, we always like cookies and cakes. Not that we need them, but we do burn a lot of BTUs on duty. So, yeah, just reaching out to them, being courteous. You know, there's a lot of tough things that we have to do. You know, for example, you want your husband to go to this hospital, but he's having a stroke or he's having a heart attack or he has trauma. By law, I have to take him to a facility that can manage whatever is going on. And so just understanding us, because if you don't agree with me when I tell you where we're taking them, I'm going to go, okay, and then I'm going to take them where I need to take them, because by law, I have to. So I can either have you mad or I can have, so just some understanding there. And really, it's all about asking questions. Just ask the questions. Is there a reason why? Or whatever, instead of just going 0 to, no, do it my way, you know? And then, you know, and this isn't just for firefighters and paramedics, but for police officers too.
Yes.
We're human beings. And just like society, we have a few bad apples. But trust me, we have a process in which we handle that, and it's a pretty tough process. And so a lot of times the citizen thinks they need to get involved when they really don't. Just be loving and gentle. And the last thing I want to say is if the police pull you over, turn on your light inside your car so that they can see you, and then be respectful. Because inside of our leadership, mutual respect is the #1 thing we need. And if you respect the police officer, you're not going to get the kind of problems that you're seeing on Facebook and on TV. It's people that are being disrespectful and being hateful that are getting that pushback. And I just want to see people love each other.
Well, you know, Sherrie, our society has lost a lot of respect that we one time were taught to have. And unfortunately, like you said, there are bad apples in these institutions, and they do need to be removed. They're in the wrong
I agree.
wrong line of work, because they're there to help people and not to hurt them. But as you said, the things that y'all see on a weekly basis, I mean, the fires, the devastation of families that you yourself, I'm sure, have seen. I mean, that has to take a toll on the human mind. Did you battle with that in any way?
You know, somehow I think you grow a film of Teflon on yourself while you're doing it. But trust me, that's gone now. It didn't take long for that to fall away. You know, here's the thing I had to do. I remember looking at people and thinking that they were from the other side of the tracks, or thinking that those pants down around their bottom looked tacky, or that hooker that was dressed, half dressed looked horrible. And I had to, God worked with me on that. And I had to look, and I had to start saying, this is a child of God. No matter how they look, no matter where they're at, they're a child of God. And I had to treat them with that level of respect. And I had to overcome that because we had all these preconceived ideas back in the 70s. I think we found the fire departments, the EMS services have moved forward, and that they're more forward thinking. But really, inside of my faith, if I stand for love, and love's the greatest, right? Then I have to see them as a child of God. And that changed it for me. That made a difference for me. And that's what we all need to start doing. Because I'm going to tell you, I got some really cool looking friends that wear some do-rags and some tattoos. And I have this one guy that works for me, and I was like, oh, Lord, when I first saw him. And I love this guy. He's an awesome man. And when you get to know people and you love them, they love you back. And you're like, wow.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that the Lord worked with you in that area, especially the line of work that you were in. And everyone has to come to that point. Somehow, some way, they have to come to that point when they're serving others, that everyone is respected. No matter if you agree with them or not, everyone is respected and everyone is loved, and their best interest is what is at your heart. And so, what could you also encourage our first responders, some words of encouragement to them, the heavy loads that they carry and the sacrifice that they're making? How could you encourage them today?
Well, I was living the dream. So they're living the dream too, unless they don't like what they do. We got to drive fast. We got to see things. I'm very curious. I love going in businesses and doing inspections just to see how people work and live. And we, think about it. We went in every kind of home you can imagine, and, just enjoy it. And I think choosing happiness inside what you're doing, even though there's ugly things about what you're doing, is really a choice that you can make about your life. And I don't live in the past about things that have happened and horrible things that I've seen. I just don't. God's got an awesome future for me, right? And even though I'm retired, I'm still living the dream. I'm just doing it in a different way. And, I think they're going to be okay. Employ team dynamics. And when I think of team dynamics and I study it, Jesus was a good communicator. He knew his role. He showed respect and inclusion of everybody. He did constructive intervention, didn't he?
Yes.
Even with, the woman at the well and whoever. He was clear, but he constructively intervened. He knowledge shared with people, and he was constantly evaluating things. And those techniques are the ones that I teach inside of leadership. And it's everything that I identify with my faith in him, and it's also science. That's what's so cool about it.
So you've definitely made it a way for it all to work and all to connect together.
Yeah, and when firefighters use that, it makes it so much better. Because I would have certainly been more included in the beginning.
Yes, that's true. That's true, but we're growing. Everyone's growing. And we'll be different 10 years from now than what we are today because we're all developing, we're all growing. So let's just communicate and love one another until we get there. And we'll never fully get there till we are on the pearly, the beautiful shores of heaven.
Yes.
But he needs to lead the way. Okay, now, Sherrie, let's talk about your current book, Faith on Fire.
Yeah.
Tell us about that project. What's the mission of that book? Is that different stories? Just tell us more about that book.
Well, the title of the book is Faith on Fire. The subtitle is The First Ingredient of a Miracle is the impossible. And the funny thing about it is that I saw all of these events, and some of them were so disheartening. But there's always a silver lining in something. But you don't experience the silver lining when you're in the grief of the situation. You have to step back and you have to study it and you have to analyze it. And just like me, I had to analyze me. I had to dig up all my old beliefs. I had to dust them off, and I had to shine the light on those things so that I could be a better person. And what the stories do, or what the book does, is it shines the light on all these different situations, and it shows you the miracle that was going down in life. And there's always a miracle going down. We don't know about them, but I remember responding to a man who, his wife had had cardiac events, and he had actually cursed God in front of me, in front of her, because she said, trust God, and he started cursing. And so finally we go back, we're doing CPR, everything is working, and this man who was cursing is now got big tears in his ocean blue eyes, and he's on his knees, and he's got his hands folded, and he's praying to God. And he says, God, just prove yourself, right? And it was so funny, because I was thinking, looky there. You know, this is a shift.
Yeah.
And I'm still over here pumping on this lady's chest. And we put her in the ambulance, and we put him in the front, and he leans back, he goes, is she okay? And I'm like, keep praying. I figured I needed to encourage it. And so just keep praying. And I walked away from her after leaving her in the ER, and I went to wash my hands, and I stood in front of the mirror, and I'm just like, God, where are you? He needs to see you. Why won't you, why won't you work a miracle for this man? And I just kind of came to, the resolve. And I had to go pick up all the equipment and get my ambulance cleaned up. And I walked back in this room, and she's sitting up talking to him, and he's sitting there going, God, I believe, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there going, I believe. And I was a believer. And so I just saw the miracle that was going down inside the impossible situation. And it was an amazing thing. And when you really look at the impossible, you will find something there. You will find something, a lesson, I don't know what it is. You will find something in every difficult situation, in every impossible. And I just believe that's the way life works.
Yeah.
But it sure is nice to have somebody to call on to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't have to be alone. Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. And so the book is just a great, wonderful, inspiring stories like that, and lessons that you've learned in different instances.
Yeah, and some of them are pretty telling on me.
Okay.
It's because I just, I tried to be completely authentic, and even the ugly side is there. But what came out of that is I learned to love firefighters and respect them. And there were some of them that were really undeserving of that. But you know what? I still do. I love them.
Yeah. Well, we all have an ugly side.
Yes, we all have this highly self-flattering view that says we're right and everybody else is wrong, right?
Yeah. But we all have an ugly side, but we all have a beautiful side. And, God is our beauty. That's the real beauty. If you know the Lord and He lives within you, I just tell people, I hope they can just see God in me, because if they just see me, they're not going to be seeing much value there, much help there. But if they can see God in me, they're going
I
to get
see
lots of value.
Philippians 4:8 in you.
Do you?
Yes. You know, somebody described me as gentle. I was like, I'm not gentle. I have tenacity. I'm determined. I'm courageous. You know, I'm Deborah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yes, yes, you're the brave lady. Oh man, there's a whole lesson on Deborah. We need to teach one day, but that's great. Well, Sherrie, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for saving lives. Thank you for all that you've done in the communities to help other people and what you're continuing to do. And we wish you much success with your Faith on Fire projects and your new project coming up,
Courageous leadership.
Courageous Leadership. Thanks for coming and being on the program.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Remember to pray for our servants and first responders. They put their lives on hold and in danger every day just to help others. Let them know you appreciate their sacrifice. God bless them and their families is our prayer. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching the Time with Theresa television show. For guest and sponsorship opportunities, contact Theresa today.